In the vast expanse of the cosmos, where stars danced like fireflies and planets spun in their eternal waltz, there existed a realm known as Zorathia. It was a world unlike any other, bathed in hues of violet and emerald, where crystal spires reached toward skies that shimmered with auroras even during daylight. The inhabitants of this alien paradise were not mere beings. They were ethereal creatures who radiated light from within, their skin glowing softly like moonlit waters. Among them stood Lyria, the crown princess of Zorathia, a being whose beauty transcended mortal comprehension. Lyria had grown up surrounded by opulence and adoration, her every wish fulfilled before she could voice it. Her people revered her as a goddess incarnate, destined to lead their civilization into an era of unparalleled prosperity. Yet beneath her radiant exterior lay a soul yearning for something more profound than reverence or duty. She often found herself gazing at the stars through the grand observatory dome atop her palace, wondering about worlds beyond her own. What did life feel like on those distant specks of light? Did others share her longing for connection? It was during one such night of contemplation that everything changed. A distress signal pierced the silence of space, emanating from a small vessel hurtling dangerously close to Zorathia's atmosphere. Against protocol, Lyria commandeered a scout ship and descended to intercept the mysterious craft. Inside, she discovered him, a human man named Kale, battered but alive, his eyes wide with disbelief as he took in the sight of her luminous form. He was unlike anyone she had ever encountered, fragile yet resilient, flawed yet beautiful in ways that defied her understanding. Kale spoke haltingly at first, explaining how his exploration mission had gone awry when his crew succumbed to betrayal, one member sabotaging the ship for personal gain, leaving Kale stranded among the stars. As Lyria listened, her heart stirred with emotions she couldn't name. Here was someone who understood loss, abandonment, and the bitter sting of treachery. For the first time in her immortal existence, she felt seen, not as a deity or a ruler, but as a being capable of vulnerability. She brought him back to Zorathia, defying both convention and council. The court erupted in outrage, whispers of scandal rippling through the crystalline halls. How dare she bring a primitive outsider into their sacred domain? But Lyria paid no heed. There was something about Kale, an authenticity, a quiet strength, that drew her inexorably closer. And though he struggled to adapt to the alien world around him, his gratitude toward her never wavered. While everyone else turned their backs, he remained steadfast, offering companionship without expectation, loyalty without condition. As days stretched into weeks, their bond deepened. They explored Zorathia together, Kale marveling at its wonders while Lyria rediscovered them through his eyes. He taught her about Earth, its chaotic beauty, its fragile ecosystems, its capacity for both cruelty and kindness. In turn, she introduced him to the intricacies of Zorathian culture, sharing secrets of their technology and philosophy. Together, they formed a bridge between two vastly different worlds, forging a connection neither had anticipated nor could deny. But theirs was not a love born of convenience or fleeting passion. It was rooted in shared pain and mutual understanding, nurtured by countless conversations under twin moons and silent moments filled with unspoken truths. When Lyria looked at Kale, she saw not just a human, but a reflection of her own humanity, the part of her that craved meaning beyond titles and legacies. And when Kale gazed upon Lyria, he saw not just an alien princess, but a kindred spirit who had chosen to stand beside him when all others had fled. Their relationship became a beacon of hope amidst growing tension within Zorathia. Some viewed Kale as a threat, a symbol of change they feared would disrupt their harmonious society. Others admired Lyria's courage, seeing in her choice a reminder of what it meant to embrace compassion over tradition. Whispers of rebellion began to circulate, factions forming in opposition to the princess's unprecedented decision. Yet through it all, Lyria and Kale stood united, their resolve unwavering. For Lyria, the burden of leadership weighed heavily on her shoulders. Each day brought new challenges, new voices clamoring for her attention, each demanding she choose between her people and the man she loved. The Council of Elders grew increasingly vocal in their disapproval, warning her that her attachment to Kale jeopardized the stability of Zorathia. "You are our future," they argued, their words sharp and unyielding. "Your destiny is tied to ours, not to some foreigner." Yet, despite their relentless pressure, Lyria refused to yield. She knew the risks, understood the sacrifices her position demanded, but she also recognized the cost of abandoning Kale. To do so would mean betraying not only him but also herself. Every fiber of her being rebelled against the notion of severing the bond they had forged. She remembered the nights they spent discussing their dreams, the laughter that echoed through the crystalline corridors, the comfort of his presence when doubts threatened to overwhelm her. These memories fortified her spirit, reminding her why she chose to defy the expectations placed upon her. Kale, too, faced trials of his own. Though grateful for Lyria's unwavering support, he wrestled with feelings of inadequacy. He was, after all, merely human in a world of celestial beings. His physical limitations paled in comparison to the extraordinary abilities of the Zorathians. Tasks that seemed effortless to them required immense effort from him, and failures often left him questioning whether he truly belonged. Doubts gnawed at him, whispering insidious thoughts that perhaps Lyria deserved better, someone more worthy of her brilliance. Despite these internal struggles, Kale persevered. He worked tirelessly to prove himself, learning the nuances of Zorathian customs and adapting to their advanced technology. His determination earned him grudging respect from some, though hostility still lingered among others. Yet, whenever despair loomed large, Lyria was there, her gentle encouragement reigniting his resolve. Together, they navigated the labyrinth of challenges, supporting each other through moments of triumph and tribulation alike. The turning point came unexpectedly, shattering the fragile equilibrium they had painstakingly built. A faction within the royal court, emboldened by growing dissent, orchestrated a coup. Under the cover of darkness, armed guards stormed the palace, intent on capturing Kale and forcing Lyria to renounce him publicly. Betrayal cut deep, slicing through the trust she had placed in those she once considered allies. As chaos erupted around them, Kale shielded Lyria, urging her to flee while he confronted their attackers. "No!" she cried, gripping his arm fiercely. "I won't leave you." Her defiance ignited a fire within him. Despite his fears, despite the odds stacked against them, he fought alongside her, protecting her with every ounce of strength he possessed. Their unity became a rallying cry for those who believed in their cause, sparking a resistance movement that spread like wildfire across Zorathia. Citizens who had once doubted now rose in solidarity, inspired by the courage displayed by their princess and her human companion. Amidst the turmoil, Lyria made a bold declaration. Addressing her people via holographic transmission, she spoke of love, acceptance, and the importance of embracing diversity. "We are stronger together," she proclaimed, her voice resonant with conviction. "Fear divides us, but compassion binds us. Let us build a future where no one is cast aside because of who they are or whom they choose to love." Her words struck a chord, galvanizing supporters who joined the fight against oppression. Battles raged across the planet, each skirmish testing the limits of endurance and faith. Through it all, Lyria and Kale remained inseparable, their partnership evolving into a symbol of resilience. Though victory remained elusive, hope burned brightly, fueled by their unwavering commitment to one another and the vision of a united Zorathia. As the conflict escalated, drawing in allies from neighboring star systems, Lyria and Kale found themselves thrust into roles far greater than they had imagined. Delegations arrived, bearing offers of assistance and expressions of solidarity. Among them was Ambassador Valon, a representative from the Galactic Concord, a coalition dedicated to fostering peace and cooperation among interstellar civilizations. His arrival marked a pivotal moment, signaling recognition of Zorathia's plight on a universal scale. Valon's presence brought both promise and peril. While his diplomatic efforts helped broker temporary ceasefires, his motives remained veiled in ambiguity. Conversations with Lyria hinted at deeper agendas, suggestions that the Concord saw potential in leveraging Zorathia's advanced technology for broader galactic interests. This revelation added layers of complexity to an already volatile situation, forcing Lyria to navigate treacherous waters where trust was scarce and alliances tenuous. Meanwhile, Kale grappled with revelations of his own. During a reconnaissance mission, he stumbled upon classified records detailing experiments conducted by rogue scientists within Zorathia. These files exposed attempts to enhance human physiology using alien biotechnology, raising ethical questions about consent and exploitation. Horrified by the implications, Kale confronted Lyria, demanding answers. Their ensuing dialogue revealed cracks in the foundation of their relationship, as mistrust seeped into their interactions. Yet, even amidst these fractures, glimmers of reconciliation persisted. Late-night discussions under the twin moons allowed them to confront their fears and uncertainties. Lyria confessed her inner turmoil, torn between her duty to her people and her desire to protect Kael from harm. Kael, in turn, acknowledged his insecurities, admitting that his initial attraction to Lyria stemmed partly from admiration for her power and status. These admissions, though painful, paved the way for healing, strengthening their bond through transparency and vulnerability. External pressures continued to mount. The coup leaders, emboldened by covert support from rival factions within the Concord, intensified their attacks. Propaganda campaigns painted Kael as a puppet manipulated by external forces seeking to undermine Zorathian sovereignty. Public sentiment swayed unpredictably, oscillating between sympathy for the embattled couple and skepticism fueled by fear-mongering rhetoric. In response, Lyria and Kael embarked on a daring initiative, a tour of Zorathia's major cities, engaging directly with citizens to dispel myths and foster understanding. Their journey became a testament to perseverance, as they faced hostile crowds and assassination attempts with unwavering resolve. Each encounter, whether triumphant or tumultuous, reinforced their commitment to building bridges rather than walls. Simultaneously, diplomatic negotiations progressed cautiously. Valon proposed a summit hosted aboard a neutral orbital station, inviting representatives from various star systems to mediate the crisis. Skeptical yet hopeful, Lyria agreed, recognizing the necessity of finding common ground. Preparations for the summit consumed their days, as strategies were devised and contingencies planned. The stakes were monumental, promising either breakthroughs toward lasting peace or catastrophic breakdowns leading to further bloodshed. Through it all, Lyria and Kael clung to each other, drawing strength from their shared experiences. Their love, tested by adversity and tempered by sacrifice, evolved into a force potent enough to challenge the very fabric of interstellar politics. Though uncertainty clouded the horizon, their determination burned brighter than ever, illuminating paths forward even in the darkest moments. As preparations for the summit neared completion, tensions reached a fever pitch. Rumors circulated of clandestine meetings between rogue elements within the Concord and insurgent leaders on Zorathia. Sabotage attempts targeted critical infrastructure, plunging entire regions into chaos. Amidst this backdrop of escalating unrest, Lyria and Kael found solace in fleeting moments of intimacy, stealing away to secluded gardens where the air hummed with latent energy. These interludes provided brief respites from the relentless pressure, allowing them to reconnect on a deeply personal level. One evening, as they strolled beneath a canopy of luminescent blossoms, Lyria paused, her gaze fixed on the horizon where the twin moons cast their silvery glow. "Do you ever wonder," she mused softly, "if we're fighting a losing battle? If our ideals are too lofty for reality?" Kael reached out, his hand brushing hers. "Every day," he admitted. "But then I remember why we started this, to create something better, not just for Zorathia, but for everyone. That's worth fighting for." His words resonated deeply, anchoring her resolve. Yet, as they returned to their duties, new challenges emerged. Intelligence reports indicated that certain delegates attending the summit harbored ulterior motives, potentially undermining any progress achieved. Trust, already fragile, frayed further as paranoia took root. Determined to maintain momentum, Lyria initiated secret communiques with trusted allies across the galaxy, seeking assurances of support during the summit. Meanwhile, Kael delved into deciphering encrypted transmissions intercepted from unknown sources, uncovering threads linking disparate factions in a web of intrigue. Their collaborative efforts yielded crucial insights, though each revelation brought fresh complications. Public opinion remained divided, swayed by conflicting narratives propagated by opposing sides. Media outlets portrayed Lyria alternately as a visionary leader or a reckless idealist, while Kael was vilified as either a savior or a saboteur. Protests erupted outside government buildings, voices raised in fervent advocacy or vehement opposition. The atmosphere crackled with anticipation, teetering on the brink of eruption. Against this turbulent backdrop, Lyria and Kael prepared meticulously for the summit. Diplomatic protocols were reviewed, contingency plans rehearsed, and personal safeguards implemented. Yet, beneath the surface calm, anxiety simmered. They knew the summit represented more than a diplomatic gathering. It was a crucible where destinies would be forged or shattered. The summit began with a flourish of diplomatic formalities, the grand hall aboard the orbital station shimmering with holographic displays and crystalline decor. Delegates from across the galaxy filed in, their attire ranging from sleek, minimalist suits to ornate robes adorned with alien sigils. Lyria and Kale stood at the center of it all, their presence commanding yet tempered by an air of vulnerability. As Lyria addressed the assembly, her voice carried a blend of authority and sincerity, laying out her vision for unity and cooperation. But beneath the polished surface of diplomacy, tensions simmered. Ambassador Valon, seated near the front, observed the proceedings with an inscrutable expression. His earlier assurances of neutrality now seemed hollow as subtle cues. Glances exchanged with certain delegates, barely perceptible nods, hinted at prearranged alliances. Kale noticed this too, his instincts honed by months of navigating treachery. He leaned closer to Lyria during a pause in her speech, whispering urgently, "Something's off. Watch Valon." Before Lyria could respond, chaos erupted. A sudden explosion rocked the station, sending shockwaves through the chamber. Alarms blared as debris rained down, scattering delegates in panic. Amidst the confusion, armed mercenaries stormed the hall, their movements precise and coordinated. It quickly became clear, this was no random attack but a meticulously planned ambush. Kale instinctively shielded Lyria, pulling her behind a toppled podium as laser fire streaked overhead. The attackers wore insignias unfamiliar to either of them, suggesting they were mercenaries hired by shadowy benefactors. Yet what chilled Kale to the bone was the realization that these intruders weren't there to kill, they were there to capture Lyria. "Stay close," he muttered, his grip tightening on a concealed energy blade he had brought despite protocol. Together, they fought their way toward an emergency exit, dodging blasts and returning fire when necessary. Their escape route led them into the labyrinthine corridors of the station, where the hum of machinery mixed with the distant echoes of battle. As they navigated the maze-like passageways, Lyria's communicator buzzed faintly. She risked a glance at the screen, her eyes widening as she read the message. "It's from one of our allies," she whispered. "They've intercepted intel. The coup leaders have brokered a deal with factions within the Concord. They're planning to frame you, Kale, for orchestrating this attack." Kale froze mid-step, his mind racing. "Why would they target me specifically?" "Because framing you undermines both of us," Lyria replied grimly. "If the galaxy believes you orchestrated violence against Zorathia, my credibility is destroyed. Without me, the resistance crumbles." Her words struck like a hammer blow. For all their struggles, they had never anticipated such calculated malice. Betrayal wasn't just personal anymore, it was systemic, woven into the fabric of interstellar politics. And yet, amidst the despair, a flicker of resolve ignited within Kale. If they wanted him to be the villain, he would use that to turn the tables. "We need to get to the central control room," Kale said, his tone resolute. "If we can access the station's surveillance feeds, we can expose the truth." Lyria nodded, trusting his judgment implicitly. They pressed onward, evading patrols and disabling security drones with quick thinking and teamwork. Along the way, they encountered other survivors, delegates and staff caught in the crossfire. Among them was Ambassador Valon, who appeared disheveled but unharmed. He approached them cautiously, hands raised in surrender. "I didn't know about this," he insisted, his voice trembling. "I swear, I only wanted peace." Lyria studied him intently, searching for any sign of deception. "Then help us," she demanded. "Prove your loyalty now." Valon hesitated before nodding. With his knowledge of the station's layout, they reached the control room faster than expected. Inside, banks of monitors displayed live footage of the unfolding chaos. Kale worked swiftly, hacking into the system while Lyria kept watch. What they uncovered was worse than they imagined. Encrypted messages detailing not only the conspiracy but also plans for a full-scale invasion of Zorathia, backed by rogue elements within the Concord. "This changes everything," Lyria murmured, her voice heavy with dread. "If word gets out, it could spark a galactic war." "But if we play this right," Kale countered, "we can stop it before it starts." He outlined a daring plan, broadcast the evidence directly to every corner of the galaxy, exposing the conspirators and rallying support for their cause. It was risky. The transmission could be traced back to them, making them prime targets. But staying silent meant allowing the lies to fester. As they prepared to execute the plan, another twist emerged. A familiar figure entered the control room, Commander Scylla, once a trusted advisor to Lyria's father and now revealed as the mastermind behind the coup. His betrayal cut deeper than any wound, shattering remnants of trust Lyria had clung to. "You always thought yourself above us," Scylla sneered, his weapon trained on them. "But you're nothing without your crown, or your human pet." Lyria met his gaze steadily, her voice unwavering. "You underestimate me. And you underestimate him." In that moment, Kale made a split-second decision. Seizing a nearby console, he initiated the broadcast prematurely, flooding the station, and the galaxy, with irrefutable proof of the conspiracy. The room fell silent as the damning evidence played out on every monitor, leaving Scylla momentarily stunned. But the victory was short-lived. Reinforcements loyal to Scylla arrived, surrounding them. Outnumbered and outgunned, Lyria and Kale braced themselves for what might come next. Yet even as the odds stacked against them, their bond remained unbroken, a beacon of defiance in the face of overwhelming darkness. Unbeknownst to everyone aboard the station, a secondary signal had been embedded within the broadcast, a distress call encoded with coordinates leading to a hidden rebel stronghold. Allies scattered across the galaxy received the message, mobilizing forces to converge on the orbital station. Among them was Captain Rhinus, a former Zorathian general who had gone underground after refusing to participate in the coup. Her fleet, though small, was equipped with cutting-edge stealth technology, allowing her ships to slip undetected through enemy lines. Back inside the control room, Commander Scylla regained his composure, his fury palpable. "You think your little stunt will save you?" he spat, advancing menacingly. "This ends here." Before he could act, the station trembled violently, jolting everyone off balance. An external assault had begun. Rhinus's fleet had arrived, launching a precision strike aimed at disabling key systems and creating diversions. Explosions rippled across the hull, shaking the very foundation of the structure. Chaos erupted anew as Scylla's forces scrambled to respond, their focus shifting outward. Seizing the opportunity, Kale grabbed a discarded plasma rifle and fired a concentrated burst at the ceiling panels, triggering a cascade of sparks and smoke. In the ensuing confusion, he and Lyria dashed toward a maintenance hatch, dragging Valon along with them. The narrow passage led downward, deeper into the bowels of the station, where gravity generators hummed ominously. Their descent was fraught with peril. Automated defenses activated, deploying turrets that tracked their movements with lethal precision. Kale used his knowledge of Earth's military tactics to outmaneuver the traps, guiding Lyria and Valon through a gauntlet of hazards. Along the way, they stumbled upon a group of stranded technicians hiding in a service corridor. One of them, a young Zorathian engineer named Tira, offered crucial information. A secondary command center existed below, accessible via a hidden lift. With time running out, they decided to make a desperate gamble. Reaching the lift required crossing an open atrium exposed to the vacuum of space due to structural damage caused by the ongoing battle. Using emergency suits scavenged from the technicians, they ventured onto the precarious walkway, each step bringing them closer to salvation and potential doom. As they neared the lift, a massive explosion tore through the far side of the atrium, hurling debris in their direction. Lyria shielded Tira with her body, taking the brunt of the impact. Pain flared through her side, but she gritted her teeth, refusing to falter. Kale helped her to her feet, his concern evident but overridden by urgency. They piled into the lift just as another blast sealed off their retreat, plunging them into darkness. The descent felt eternal, the lift jerking sporadically as damaged mechanisms struggled to function. When the doors finally slid open, they found themselves in a dimly lit chamber filled with blinking consoles and humming servers. This was the nerve center of the station, a place designed to override primary controls in case of emergencies. Tira immediately set to work, her fingers flying over the interface as she rerouted power to critical systems. Meanwhile, Kale and Lyria coordinated with Rhinus via secure channels, relaying real-time updates and strategizing their next move. The combined efforts of the rebels outside and the team inside created a window of opportunity, but it was fleeting. Scylla, realizing his position was compromised, launched a final gambit. He deployed elite shock troopers to breach the command center, intending to eliminate them once and for all. The sound of pounding footsteps echoed through the corridors, growing louder with each passing second. Lyria turned to Kale, her expression a mixture of fear and determination. "We've come too far to let him win," she said firmly. "Whatever happens next, promise me we'll stand together." Kale met her gaze, his resolve unwavering. "Always," he vowed. Together, they prepared for the inevitable confrontation, knowing that the fate of Zerathia, and perhaps the entire galaxy, rested on their shoulders. The shock troopers breached the command center with a deafening crash, their weapons glowing ominously as they poured into the chamber. Lyria and Kale stood side by side, their backs against the main console, while Tira frantically worked to finalize the override sequence. Vaylon crouched nearby, clutching a makeshift weapon scavenged from fallen debris, his face pale but resolute. "Stay focused," Kale muttered under his breath, his eyes scanning the advancing soldiers. "We just need a few more seconds." Lyria nodded, her fingers brushing against his for a brief moment of reassurance. The intimacy of that touch grounded them both, even as chaos erupted around them. Energy blasts ricocheted off the walls, casting jagged shadows across the room. Kale returned fire with precision, taking down 2 troopers in quick succession. Lyria joined him, wielding an improvised plasma rod with surprising skill, her movements fluid and deliberate. Tira's voice cut through the din. "Almost there," she shouted, sweat beading on her forehead as her hands flew over the controls. "Just hold them off a little longer." But time was slipping away. More troopers flooded in, forcing Lyria and Kale to retreat closer to the console. They fought valiantly, but exhaustion and injuries began to take their toll. A searing blast grazed Kale's arm, causing him to stumble. Lyria stepped in front of him protectively, her radiant form flaring brighter as if fueled by sheer willpower. And then it happened. A surge of energy coursed through the room as Tira completed the override. The station systems went haywire, plunging the chamber into darkness before emergency lights flickered back on. Alarms blared anew, this time accompanied by a synthesized voice announcing system lockdown protocols. "We did it!" Tira cried, slumping against the console in relief. But the victory was short-lived. Commander Scylla appeared at the entrance, his armor scorched but his expression triumphant. Behind him loomed a massive holographic display showing the rebel fleet, now surrounded by reinforcements sent by the rogue factions within the Concord. Outnumbered and outgunned, Rhinus's forces were struggling to hold their ground. "You see," Scylla sneered, stepping forward. "Your rebellion ends here. Surrender now, or watch your allies burn." For a moment, despair threatened to overwhelm them. But then Kale straightened, his gaze locking onto Scylla with unyielding defiance. "You miscalculated one thing," he said, his voice steady despite the odds stacked against them. "This isn't just about Zerathia anymore. It's about hope, and you can't destroy that." Before anyone could react, Kale activated the final protocol embedded in the override sequence. The entire station shuddered violently as hidden transmitters broadcast a live feed, not just of the conspiracy, but also of everything that had transpired since the coup began. Every betrayal, every act of cruelty, every whispered plot was laid bare for the galaxy to witness. The effect was instantaneous. Across star systems, billions watched in stunned silence as the truth unfolded. Public outrage erupted like wildfire, engulfing planetary governments and galactic coalitions alike. Even those who had once opposed Lyria and Kale found themselves unable to ignore the evidence staring them in the face. Scylla faltered, his confidence crumbling as realization dawned. "What have you done?" he snarled, raising his weapon. But before he could act, a sudden tremor rocked the station. The rebel fleet, emboldened by the broadcast, launched a renewed assault, breaking through enemy lines with ferocious determination. Simultaneously, internal security systems turned against Scylla's forces, trapping many of his troops in sealed compartments. Seizing the opportunity, Lyria advanced toward Scylla, her luminous form radiating an aura of authority no one could deny. "It's over," she declared, her voice echoing with power. "Stand down, or face judgment not only from me but from the entire galaxy." Scylla hesitated, torn between desperation and resignation. In that split second of indecision, Vaylon acted. With a cry of anger and redemption, he lunged at Scylla, tackling him to the ground. The two grappled fiercely, their struggle ending when Valon managed to disarm his former ally. Breathing heavily, he pinned Scylla down, ensuring he couldn't escape. As order slowly restored itself aboard the station, Lyria and Kale embraced amidst the wreckage, their hearts pounding with a mix of exhaustion and triumph. Around them, survivors began to emerge from hiding, their expressions filled with awe and gratitude. Word spread quickly: the coup had failed, and justice would prevail. In the weeks that followed, the galaxy underwent a profound transformation. Leaders implicated in the conspiracy faced trial, their crimes exposed for all to see. Reforms swept through interstellar institutions, prioritizing transparency and unity over secrecy and division. For the first time in generations, hope seemed tangible, a beacon guiding civilizations toward a brighter future. Lyria ascended to her rightful place as ruler of Zarathia, not as a distant monarch but as a leader deeply connected to her people. She abolished outdated traditions, fostering inclusivity and understanding among diverse cultures. Kale remained by her side, serving not only as her partner but also as a bridge between worlds, advocating for cooperation and mutual respect. Their love story became legend, recounted in songs and tales passed down through generations. It was said that even the stars themselves aligned to honor their bond, a testament to the enduring power of courage, loyalty, and unwavering faith in the face of adversity. One evening, as they stood together beneath Zarathia's twin moons, Lyria turned to Kale, her eyes shimmering with emotion. "Do you ever wonder what might have been if we hadn't met?" Kale smiled softly, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I used to think about that a lot. But now, I know our paths crossing wasn't chance, it was destiny. And I wouldn't trade it for anything." Hand in hand, they gazed upward, watching as streaks of light painted the sky. Somewhere beyond the horizon, new challenges awaited, but so too did endless possibilities. Together, they had weathered storms that would have broken lesser beings. And together, they would continue to shape a universe where love transcended boundaries and united souls across the cosmos. Their journey was far from over, but for now, peace reigned, and that was enough.